All right, welcome everybody to, I don't know if it's episode or if it's just office hours, but this is our 85th office hours. So welcome to CoCreative NoCode's 85th office hours. Today we have a special guest, Eli Beachy, who is one of my favorite bubblers ever. And we're very excited to have him. If this is your first time tuning in to our office hours live on Facebook, or maybe watching the replay on YouTube, we do office hours every day of the week, Monday through Friday, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 a.m. Pacific time, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And we invite our members of CoCreative NoCode to come on the Zoom calls, and they can ask any questions that they want about Bubble, and we will tackle any Bubble topic, Bubble bugs, Bubble feature requests, anything that you want. And yeah, and we have a lot of fun together. So welcome, Eli. Your first time joining us. So happy you're here.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Been excited for this.
Yeah, so we're going to start with our typical Q&A. So does anyone have any questions for Eli to get started? They're all quiet. They had tons of questions before.
We're intimidated by his knowledge.
Intimidated, yeah. We're like, they're all scared. Olivier, did you want to go?
Don't be scared. Ask the question, then you won't be intimidated anymore because
There you go.
I don't know.
Yeah, go for it, Olivier.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, perfect. So I was wondering, is it a bad thing to have multiple groups on top of each other?
Did you get that, Eli?
Say it again.
Is it a bad thing to have multiple groups on top of each other?
So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but you can get yourself in trouble with it. I'm assuming you're talking about hiding and showing them as to kind of show different pages.
Yes, exactly. So like in a dashboard, you have like 15 different groups, and then with custom states, you flip between them.
Sure. Yeah, I would always recommend, rather than setting them on top of each other, stacking them on the page and using your vertically hidden checkbox.
Okay.
So that the space hides, and that's, I mean, two reasons. It keeps each one individually much easier to access and keep in its own little box. And secondarily, when Bubble draws pages, when you have elements stacked on top of each other, even if they're hidden, it's really easy to get a rogue element just kind of somewhere in that stack. And then when you're switching back and forth, or you're trying to set that responsive, get your responsive settings to work, it's not really easy to understand why, because you have all of them stacked on top of each other.
Okay, thank you. So it's better to work with different pages to instead show a custom state than go to another page, for example.
No. Tanya's drawing it out here, where you have one group on top of the other. So each page would be not stacked directly on top of each other, but one underneath. So page one would be on top, and then the next one would start at the bottom of the top group, and then you would just stack them down the page rather than on top of each other.
Oh,
Yes, it's stacked vertically. So if I switch, there must be something off here because that's supposed to collapse when it's hidden. So this one collapses element's height when hidden. Oh, maybe it's because I have it at the top. There's space.
That's probably because you have your button sitting there.
Oh, is it? Okay, so put the button at the bottom.
Put the button underneath at the bottom. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So.
And that's a scenario. So if you put both of those groups that you're collapsing inside a parent group, that button won't impact it. But when they're separate like that,
yeah,
it's creating that extra element on the page, and then Bubble's not actually collapsing the top group because it's in reference to that button that's kind of sitting right there in the middle.
Yeah. So when Eli says to stack it on the page, he means stack it vertically, not depth wise. So I think that I've run into people misunderstanding me when I say stack it. So stack it vertically on the page and then collapse the group's height when it's hidden, and you get this effect. So
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
awesome. Who's next? Thomas, I think you were keeping track of some of our questions.
Yeah, so I have a general question right now for Eli, since you've been in this space for a while. Nice to meet you, by the way.
Good to meet you.
So yesterday, Tonya was having a conversation with, I don't remember who, and she was talking about Twitter's, the Twitter version made by AirDev, and how the limitation was around 200,000 users. And after that, you have to pretty much consider moving off of Bubble. Now, where I'm conflicted is during a conversation where I was listening to Emmanuel during a podcast, he was saying 1 million users. Now, I don't know if he was just saying right out the bat, but I'm confused.
Oh, that must have been a later podcast interview, because I think it was
Yeah,
Emmanuel who said 200,000, but I think that was like up to 2 years before I listened to the podcast,
Yeah.
which was a year ago. So
Right.
yeah.
So I'm a bit conflicted. Like, what are Tanya's conversation? 200,000 is a limitation. Emmanuel, I think, may have accidentally just slipped out 1 million. I don't know if he meant to say that though.
Yeah. So Eli, I guess the question here is, Tonya heard on a podcast, Emmanuel, I think it was Emmanuel, talking about Bubble's limitations at that time when that podcast aired. And that could have been maybe 3 years ago. And at that time, someone said, how many users can I have on an app made with Bubble? And his answer is, right now, if you built a Twitter clone on Bubble, you could have up to 200,000 users before you would have exhausted Bubble's resources and sort of been forced into the decision to move off. So do you have an answer in terms of like how big you could grow an app on Bubble?
So I don't, I would go with Emmanuel's recent statement, I think, on that, because they've made a lot of changes over the last 3 years. I don't have an app with 200,000 or 1 million users, so I have a hard time answering this question properly.
Right.
But either level, I think it's at that point you have a good problem, right? And so if you need to move off of Bubble into another platform, you've definitely proven your product and probably have the revenue to do that. But I would say probably that number has changed over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Does that apply to normal data types as well, though? Because surely a user is just another data type in that it exists. So if you had a user, they had, I don't know, posts or something like they did on Twitter, surely you could only have up to 200,000 posts because it would have the same issues searching through them that it would with users. Is that right? Or is there some difference?
On actual data type, so your user is gonna have different requirements in a standard, and it's, I mean, essentially it is just a data type, but there's a lot more going on the background. I do have apps that have well more than 200,000 data types or records, and Bubble's at this point, Bubble's big issue with large amounts of data is actually bulk manipulation. Once the data is in, I have not seen any issues with, or very little with, searching through and using those data types or those records. So I don't think that's gonna be an issue. In fact, Nigel, y'all probably seen him on the forum. He was on Twitter. A couple weeks ago, he was trying to upload like 800,000 records. And so I have been in contact with a couple people just in the last several weeks that have been uploading, 500,000 to more than that records. And it's always the upload is the issue. Getting the data in with Bubble is the issue. Hopefully that is something, especially with their recent round of money that they've raised. Hopefully that's something that can be helped a lot. But my experience is once the data is in there, it's pretty easy to work with. Your problem is actually getting it in.
I've heard so many hopes for that $100 million. Like the list is long.
I just want one of those million.
Just give me one.
I just really wish there was like a helpful plugin where you could like add a CSV file into Bubble. That'd be like really helpful.
Are you making a funny because Eli has a bulk uploading CSV? He does. He's created that plugin. We use it all the time in AirDev.
Thought I'd plug that in.
I have a related question to that, Eli.
Hey, Juan.
In the past, I saw some posts in the forum, like people like doing updates of data or even migrating data using Parabola or maybe Integromat. What do you think about that? And if you are willing to pay, or like, for example, if the money is not the problem, which method will you use? Or
As far as uploading the data,
yeah,
Parabola is a good option. It gets expensive, as you noted, and but if you have the ability to hit the bulk or the data API rather than going through like a workflow or a front end upload action, you can upload quite a bit quicker. The CSV upload in the editor itself is quite a bit quicker than it was even a year ago, and handles things a lot better that way. But yeah, all those are good options. Integromat, I love Integromat. I've used it more than Parabola, but Parabola is a good option as well.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? There's another service out there. I think it's called Easy CSV.
Is it a plugin for Bubble or
no? It's just a standalone product, but you can create an account. They have an integration with Bubble's data APIs, so you can connect to your own Bubble app, and they'll process the CSV data for you, and then send it. So I had tried them out when I first caught them, and they were sending things too quick, so it was timing out. But I believe they've added the option to kind of space out how it's sent. But that would be a good way of pushing it up as well.
Okay. Awesome. So how many, so just a quick follow-up question. What's the largest app in terms of users that you've managed or had interaction with, Eli?
Last I heard a count, I think there was 25,000 users.
That's a good amount of users.
So
the biggest one I know of is 10,000 plus, and then the one that I manage is 4,000 plus. So, but definitely like robust enough for like businesses to build on, right? Like,
yeah, for sure. And like that app that has, and that was several months ago when they had 25,000. They just raised, I think, a several $1 million round. Perfect. And so that's kind of what I look at user constraints on Bubble, and almost all the constraints are at a point where it shouldn't be a problem. Like if it is a problem, then you have a really good problem. You'll have the ability to generate the revenue or raise the money that you need to move to a new platform.
Got it. Awesome. Next question for Eli.
Do you have any experiences working with PWAs, and can converting a Bubble app to a PWA improve the performance of it?
So I don't have really any experience with PWAs. I do know you cannot create a genuine PWA with Bubble because you can't create a full offline experience.
Why not? Like in what way? What do you mean by that? Offline experience?
In that you have to you always have to have some kind of a data connection to connect to the Bubble database.
So I thought though that with a PWA that you would be able to cache certain parts of the site or certain bits of data. Why would you not be able to do that in Bubble if you've got the manifest and the JS snippets? I don't know a lot about this, so I'm asking kind of blind.
Sure. No, and I'm gonna preface this with that I don't have a lot of experience with PWA. So it's possible you could custom code something. I don't believe you can use a Bubble built app and convert it into a PWA. But you could obviously use the Bubble backend with a custom coded PWA.
So when you say a custom coded PWA, when I think of a PWA, I think of the app that I've created as one thing, but then it just has the manifest and then it's got little bits of JS that travel with it. Is that a misunderstanding?
Sure.
Yes, it's a misunderstanding.
I'm not sure.
I thought you said
I'm not
sure.
I'm not following you entirely there.
I thought that the PWA aspects, the things that make an app a PWA, are somewhat discrete. Like they're not built with the app from the ground up. There are other things that are almost like accompaniments or and I don't know how to say it. There are other things
Sure.
that travel with it. So if that is the case, and I don't know if it is, then what would it matter whether you built on Bubble or Python or whatever?
Because the Bubble app itself, you have to have a data connection to be able to interact with it, and we don't have the ability to make any changes to that since it's kind of an enclosed system that's controlled by Bubble, right? And that I don't want to give bad information here because I am by no means an expert in this area, but this is just having had conversations with people that have tried to do this. I haven't talked to anyone yet that's had success actually building one that could work offline in any real effective way.
So do you believe that it's just because obviously PWA, there's lots of other things that PWA can access native functionality on phones, things like that, which obviously Bubble can do with things like BDK native and things like that. So is it, to your knowledge, it's just the offline functionality PWA offers that wouldn't be able to be recreated in Bubble because it requires that active data connection?
As far as I understand, yeah, and that's always the issue that people are coming back with is you want something that can work that's not connected to the internet, right? And that's been the issue that I've heard.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Who's next?
I'm sorry, I'm going to ask one more about this.
Okay. So, it's been a recurring topic for us, so that makes sense.
Yeah, it's something.
Thanks for warning me, Tonya.
Oh, sorry. I had no idea.
Yeah. It's something I want to do with my app. I want my app to be something that they're going to mostly use it, I suppose, on their desktops, but I want them to be able to use it when they're outside as well, a little bit. Mostly I want them to be able to enter data, but I hoped, I don't know, that they would be able to, do that when they're outside their house and then have that data just kind of sit there until they walk in and make a connection and then have it upload. Does that sound impossible, or is that a potential doable thing with Bubble and PWA?
I would kind of be surprised if you can do that with native Bubble. And maybe BDK had, because I do know they have the ability to store some data directly locally on your phone, right? But they wrap it for the App Store. So I don't know that would be able to operate in any way as a PWA. Yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to do that with native Bubble. As far as letting people do it if they don't have data access.
I have to wonder if it's moot though. If you're using your phone, unless you're in a canyon or something, then you have access. You might not have fast access, but you're going to be able to have some kind of connection.
Sure. Yeah, as long as you have access to your phone's data.
And
It's
all is
effectively the
well.
same as Facebook. It's the same as Facebook. You can't post to Facebook with no data connection. You need it to be able to post, right? You can use the app, and I know I've got my app wrapped, and I can use PDK, and I can still use the app on my phone. I just can't update any data to Bubble at the same time if I'm offline.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Any other questions? Thomas, do we have a list or no? I think I wanted to see some of the things that you've been posting on Twitter about, like, for instance, was it like a virtual data type that you posted about a while ago or something like that?
It was.
Yeah. Can you go into that? Can you show us some of that?
I can.
Okay, I'll
see.
stop sharing and you can share your screen.
I'm gonna have to. What's the ID on that?
It's
I had to install a plugin over here.
Oh yeah, here I'll send you a link to the editor in the chat. If I can get to the chat for all of my notifications.
I got it. August Sandbox 2021.
Yep, that's us.
So this is still a private plugin. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Sorry. All right, good times. Can y'all see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. Install this. So virtual data type is it's kind of a it's a made up thing, honestly, but the idea is to. Tonya, how can I hide this thing that has? I got too much Zoom stuff in my way. Oh, there we go. Got it. Let's see here. So the idea is to be able to create some data that really doesn't exist in your database by aggregating data from different data sources, and it's something that Bubble does not do well. And Juan has some experience using this. We have spent some time on the phone. But so essentially, a lot of where this could be used is when you have, say, like a calculation, and you want to be able to sort or filter by that calculation. And I'm gonna go ahead and create some data in here. What do we have as data? Do we have anything with numbers?
No, not yet.
All right.
But I can be your virtual data operator. What do you want? You create it and I'll create the entries.
All right, sounds good. So I'm going to create line items, and then let's just say description. I know that we don't really need descriptions, but I'm going to say units. And then we'll do unit price. All right.
Okay.
So we don't, it doesn't really matter how many we have in there, I guess, but 3 or 4 would be great.
Okay, got it, on it.
And then just create a new page.
Yep.
All right. All right, So yeah, I guess just to kind of give a quick demonstration of what you can do, and this is a private plugin, but I'll be making it public soon. And so say you have line items like Tonya's creating right now, and you have a number of units and you have a unit price. The only way really that you could sort by the totals on that line item would be to actually create a new field on the line item data type, and always update that with the units times unit price, and then store that. And that may be sometimes something that you want to do. Sometimes it's not and data that you would need aside from being able to display or sort by it. And so what we can do is use the API connector and create essentially data types that Bubble will be able to recognize the fields from, but we can create them on the page rather than actually storing any data in the database itself. So we'll just call this.
You're good to go, by the way. You've got 5 things.
Okay, thank you. All right, and then I'll just say line item. Try to keep things named in a way that makes sense here. So we don't need to initialize anything. We're just going to enter some JSON, and this will be, come on. Units. And you basically just want to create the the fields that you want to have access to or display. All right, doesn't have to be right. I'm gonna go ahead and add the ID here as well. So number. Okay, perfect. And I installed the virtual data types. We'll go in here and virtual data. And it doesn't have to be that big. So what we're going to set as our return value now is that API connector that we just created, which was called line item sortable. So this will give us access to all those fields we created in the JSON. I'm gonna jump back over there and just copy paste this. And then here, I'm just gonna search for all the line items. And then we'll do format as text. And then we'll switch out these values for values from, so we'll get this line items units. This line items units, oops, excuse me, unit price. This will be this line items units times this line items unit price. And this is where the power starts coming in, because we can, when the page loads, take a bunch of data, run calculations, and spit it back out into a flat JSON essentially that we can now sort by. So obviously you could just do a search for the line items in a repeating group, and you can display any of this data that you want, but you can't sort by it. So let's grab the ID. So now I normally pass an ID back just in case I want to have access So if you want to put a button in there and you want to be able to actually change that line item, you can just grab that line item's ID and find the item that you want to send back. Okay, so that's good there. Sorry, I got to be able to see my borders. All right, so this repeating group, the type will just be, again, that same type we set up in the API connector. So line item sortable. And then virtual data A's list is our data source. Let's grab text. We're going to do current sales lines units. Then, did you add descriptions, Tonya?
I did.
No,
I just used it like a name.
That's fine. So this is how you can use that ID then. So we'll just grab the first item's description. All right. So fingers crossed, if we preview this, we should have thanks for using username and password. Okay, so we have, in fact, let me just put some headers up here so we can see.
Eli, you do things much prettier than I do them when I'm doing demonstrations. Yeah. Usually Calum and Thomas are cleaning everything up for me in the UI. I'm just making it work.
Okay. So we can see this has taken those line items, which we only have the unit and the unit price, and sent it back with the total calculated. So there's nothing really that you can't do here without native bubble, but we can change this now. So let's just give a checkbox. I'll start making things ugly for you.
By special request.
And so we'll take this now, we'll just add a sorted to it. And we can say, let's sort this by the unit total. And we'll make this dynamic and say checkbox descending is checked. Cool. All right.
Oh, that's great.
So now we're sorting by the actual totals on that line item without actually having to set up the workflows to maintain that value and all that. So, but yeah, that's kind of the basic. Go ahead.
Yes, because, and also there is a risk that you forget some time to update that total, or you was checking the database and you damaged it, or yeah. Yeah, that's great.
It's just it's much easier to maintain. So go ahead.
Sorry, can you refresh this, please? I noticed it once upon a time later. No, so some all time, but it takes a little bit more to load. Can you maybe add another repeating group or in another page to check the time to load without this virtual data? And maybe you can copy this page and do a regular search.
Should we just load them side by side?
Yeah, to check the time it takes to load. That's great. And when you will make it public, Eli?
Maybe this weekend. I was gonna
will
try to
begin
get it done
using it.
earlier, and all right, so we'll just get rid of this, and all right, so we're gonna do.
And
there we go.
These calculations are on the client side or are being calculated from
They're
the
being
server
done.
and then retrieved?
No, they're being done on the client side.
Okay. And so what happens, for example, if you have, I don't know, 5,000 rows or 10,000 rows, and you want to display it descending, Bubble will load the 5,000 rows and then do the math operations and then sort them? Or what happens if you have a pagination system or things like that?
So if you have a pagination system, it still works. I've tested it that way. I have not tested it with 10,000. I think I tested it with 1,000 items, and Bubble is smart enough that in the background they're only loading, like they're kind of preloading what's necessary. But I would definitely, so here when you're doing the search, I would put as much in any search you can do. So if you're wanting to sort by unit price or number of units or anything like that, I would do that in this search here. Before, that way it can be done on the server before it's brought back. Otherwise, you're gonna run into unnecessary delays on your page for sure.
Okay.
So this is a good option in specific situations. I would use it where it's needed, but definitely not where it's not.
Okay, yeah, got it. Thank you. The reason why I am asking this is because I run in the past, like in issues that the app works perfect with your test data and you add more data and all is fine. But when the app begins growing, then you realize that you needed to change a little bit the logic and things like that. So it's just like this.
Yep.
And I have also like a question to Bubble, like maybe we should have a kind of awards of the best plugins. So maybe we can postulate the best ones so Bubble can know that this is a feature that should be a native feature from Bubble, and like Bubble can pay to you for this improvement that you do to the community with the plugin and make it better and native. I think maybe that's a good idea for Bubble.
I agree.
Calum has been saying that about some plugins, especially BDK. It's like, why isn't this just Bubble?
There's, and I mean, they have to prioritize, right? They have a roadmap and they have to prioritize, but there's some things that if they did, most of my plugins would become unneeded, right? So
yeah, for example, these. Sorry.
No,
these and for example,
the stuff. Sorry, go on.
Don't worry. I mean, for example, this and an ability to do a kind of queries, so you can pull only the data that you need from the database object. For example, if you have, I don't know, 15 fields and you need only to retrieve 2, and maybe with a relationship to another table or database object, to can retrieve queries, not both, and do weird things after downloaded on the client side.
Looks like Eli agrees with you based on that nod. Yeah.
I've been working with Xana the last couple of weeks, and there's some big improvements that could be made on the way data is queried. We'll just cross our fingers. Bubble's amazing. I love Bubble, and they keep getting better. I think so. I think eventually, and there's issues that they had 4 years ago, right? That they're just not there anymore. Like they were so frustrating, and now we just don't even think about them. So I think it's going to be the same way in another 4 or 5 years. A lot of these issues we struggle with now would just be non-issues at that point.
What were you saying, Calum? Calum, what were you saying?
I was just saying about the mobile stuff and integrating, the ability to turn it into, or at least like turn it into a wrapped app from Bubble, because I don't know if you saw over the weekend, over the week, Wix have just launched their thing to be able to build mobile apps natively. There's a few more of them popping up. I just think web apps are great, and but what is it, like 70% of internet traffic's mobile? I think being able to convert your app, even if it was convert and have a native wrapping service within Bubble, it would, I think it would be huge, because they could then sell themselves as build, native apps and web apps. It would still be web app, but it would just be wrapped. And I think, be a big selling point for them.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't do more with that. I think they initially had, because initially they were kind of selling it as that, like you can put this into the app store, but it seemed like somewhere along the line they decided it was not worth it.
Because I still can't work out what this app is a native app, because they've still got that button on there, haven't they, that you can check and say this is a native app, and it still gives you that weird notification saying you need to build this on one page, which we now know isn't true because PDK supports multi-page ones. But it feels like they started going down that route, but never really got all the way. But I hope. Yep. Anyway, I've got to drop off, but it's been really great meeting you, Eli. Thank you very much.
You as well, Calum.
Bye, Calum. So we have like 4 people from AirDev on this call. Calum is one of them. Calum was is in sales, and Juan is a dev, and I'm a PM. And then there's Eli. He gets his own special status. So, yeah. Awesome. Do we have any other questions?
Hey,
Well, the one
Eli,
with-
can you
Go ahead, Thomas. No, I think mine is kind of off on boundaries of what makes sense. So go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask if I was going to ask, can you show us a little bit about how to speed up repeating groups through the use of API connector or the API connector? This was something I believe you recently posted on
Twitter,
Bloom, and I think it was on Twitter. Yeah. I don't know if I'm making any sense now. It doesn't seem like you get what I'm saying.
I'm trying to remember. It might have been just using the formatted as to build out your list rather than repeating groups. Because that can be quicker, especially if you have a lot of elements in your repeating group. Just the way Bubble draws them out, which again, fingers crossed on the flex box they're coming out with, that will resolve a lot of these issues. I don't know, but I'm hoping. But I would say one of the things that's where you can I would use a text element, or you can put it inside a group, however you want to build it. And in fact, if you do HTML, you can use the HTML element and really kind of build whatever you want. But if we do a search here and then do the formatted, so we'll just do units, and then in the delimiter you can just hit return, and that'll add a line break. But if there's just kind of some basic information you need to display, that's a great way to do it, rather than putting a full RG in there with all the elements that go with it. I don't know if that's what you were talking about or not.
I think it was Tip Lister that posted it on Twitter, but
oh, it might have been.
Got mistaken with him. Yeah, but he had mentioned something like that. But cool stuff.
What are cool things that, like, do you ever use, I think Juan, you've done this before, where you use your own app's API in the API connector?
Okay, yeah.
What's that used for? Like, what's the purpose of doing that?
Okay, it was sometimes I needed to, for example, by privacy rules to retrieve some data without exposing it, or I just forgot last time for which purpose I used it. I think also to modify it a little bit, but not sure the last time. But let me think, and if I remember, I will tell you. But yeah, it was something like this.
That's a great way to it's a great way to get around your privacy rules, being able to set up the privacy rules that you need.
Then coming through the API connector instead.
Just by calling your own backend from the API connector.
Yeah, it makes sense. Awesome. And then I did have one about, so I've run into this issue a couple of times where I'm getting data back from an API call, and it's a list, right? It's an array of things, like objects with different things on it. And then I want to go to process it, and I want to use a recursive workflow because that tends to be more reliable than an API workflow on a list. But for some reason, just the way that the data comes back to me, I seem to only be able to access it through scheduling an API workflow on a list. And so, and I can show you an example. I have permission from Elise to show what I'm talking about, but I don't have a good example outside of that. So in the backend workflows here, we're making different API calls to different stores, right? So there's an Amazon call, and then we have to process some information, a Walmart and Target, right? And so it's these here that I'm getting a list back from each of these calls. And then I want to schedule, like this is the 1 star. So I want to schedule the results on this list here. Okay. And my question, I guess, is there a way to send that API information into an API workflow where I can do it recursively instead of having to schedule it on a list? Because the problem here is it skips some, right? So what we've noticed is the results in the database, when we get our search product results, it's not always 5 each like it's supposed to be. Sometimes there will be a hiccup. So
what is the returned structure look like?
Well, that's a good question. How could I show that to you? I guess I could just run it and show you a log.
No, in the API connector, I'm assuming that's how you're getting the data in.
Got it. Yeah.
Just reinitialize the call that's bringing in.
Okay, so the keyword, so this is the one that's bringing in the ones that we're processing. So okay.
All right, what products are we, the search product details list?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that should be able to be run on a recursive workflow. Are you trying to run it on, let's go ahead and try to set one up.
Okay. So we go to
your workflow.
Backend workflows. Here we go.
Yeah. And let's go ahead and create something to receive it. So add a new backend workflow.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. And then add a new parameter.
So this is the API data.
That should be the API data.
Okay. And then,
And cross our fingers.
okay.
All right. Number of, scroll down. So you don't have any. Okay, I think you're not going to, it's not giving you the option to pass that list or even a single. Wait, what's search product results?
That's a thing in the database.
That's data. Okay. So I think what you're gonna have to do is you'll have to save that list. So you can, on your log, you can have a field that should be a list of that type. And then we'll have to pass the log through and a recurring number, and then we'll get that item type, that item number from the list that's on the log. So go ahead and
so make it in the data, like,
yep.
And make a log thing. Okay.
All right.
And is that text?
No, scroll on down. You should have access to Amazon keywords, Amazon star filter search product detail. Make that a list.
See. Okay. Got it. And then this is going to be the number, which is, we'll pass both the list in and also how many things are in the list.
We will pass the number of the item in the list that we're working on this round.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense. So then.
So yeah, then your API data instead will just be that log, and then you'll keep spinning that log through, and each time it comes through, so go ahead and add a key for round or whatever you need.
Okay. And it's of type log.
That's going to be number.
Oh, the number. Okay.
Yep. And then another one for the log.
All right, I get it. I get how that works.
Okay.
Makes sense. Perfect.
Got to get creative sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And I just couldn't, that one was escaping me, but that's exactly what Juan, I think that's what you were trying to tell me the other day, and it was going over my head. So. And we have Sandra joining us. So he has a question for you. And actually it's similar to one that Jay has as well. Hey, Sander. Hi, Sander. No, not quite. His question, if he still has it, is he was trying to make like a Trello-like board where you could drag things to different boards, right? Using the draggable elements. But his problem was the things that he wants to move are between repeating groups, and you can't drag things out of repeating groups the way, like, at least not easily or not intuitively. And so we were wondering if you knew a way around that.
Using the drop area in Bubble, I'm assuming.
Yeah, exactly. So using draggable elements, so you'd have the drop area like in another repeating group, can you drag things across repeating groups? So we were thinking, like, I was thinking in terms of like maybe utilizing one of the other plugins like Orchestra or BDK repeating group tools or things like that. But
so there's another plugin that is a drag and drop plugin. And it works really well.
I'll stop sharing my screen if you want to share.
I don't remember what the plugin is, but we can try working on this right now.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, I lost it. There it is. Okay. You want me to leave all this stuff here?
Sure. Yep. That's what we usually do. You can just
Okay.
make a new page.
Yeah, I don't know if I've tried dragging from one repeating group to another yet or not.
I have. I think it works. I've done it before, but I just got a message from one of my guys in my company who said it stopped working. So maybe, I don't know. I know I've done it before, but
okay.
Yeah.
We know it was working because he can't complain that it stopped working unless it was working.
yeah, it was working. Yeah. But anyways, I'm anxious to see this so I can fix it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, let's see what happens here. Do we have that plugin? Let's open Bubble's speedy plugin list.
So now we all go to lunch and come back.
Exactly. Let's see. So I'm just trying to remember drag table. No, it wasn't drag table. I can't remember which one it was. I'll try to find that plugin then, Tonya. But
there's a plugin that makes it possible.
It just makes it a little bit quicker to be able to drag across before you save the data, but this should be fine. All right, so let's see. Have a drop group. What was he trying to do, dragging it into the other? Like move statuses?
Trello boards. So you drag it from like a list to another list, like Monday to Tuesday. I'm also trying to do something similar where there's a repeat group of images. They need to get dragged into a drop zone outside the repeat.
Group. And get rid of that. I'm just going to put a drop area over here. Can you give me a status on this line item data type, Tonya?
A status on it? What do you mean? Oh, it's to add a status. Yeah, got it.
Add a status field.
Text or something else.
Text is fine.
Okay.
Just so we can see something is happening here.
Done.
All right.
It's fun to build with other people. Like that's some of my favorite office hours time is when I'm building something and Thomas or Calum is in there with me. Calum and I actually worked on an app together for a client, and we would both be doing different things at the same time.
Yeah, it's optimal when we do it because I'm like, you're good with the complex like searches and functions, and I'm like, let me just get in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Make this look pretty.
Yeah, you make it look good, and I just like.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
like my favorite part too. That's the best. Just making things look pretty.
And I hate making things look pretty. No, I shouldn't say I hate it. Like I like the results of it, but I'm just like, it's not where I want to spend my time.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. So I guess we can, I think that's going to be the new line item that's dropped. Fingers crossed. Nope, hold on. Yeah, that's not going to drag across, is it?
Yeah, it was pretty obvious from Jay's example that it wasn't moving out of its current repeating group.
Yeah, I may not have a good answer for this one. Let's see here.
What's the downside of just having one repeating group with like 3 columns?
One repeating group with 3 columns?
Yeah. In this particular case where you're just dragging from one group to the next. Like just using the same draggable element just from, you know, one of the 3 columns.
I think you're going to still have to have, oh, this is working. Yeah, that's working. Okay.
How did you make that happen? I watched it.
Okay.
We're all going to study it for hours and hours. We're going to rewatch it like 5 million times. What was it he did?
I didn't even know that's possible. That's crazy.
All right, I didn't do anything anything major here, which in fact I think typically, I can't remember who asked about having groups on top of each other, but this would probably be one of those where you would want to have it actually on top of each other. But it's just a drag area and then or a drop area and then a drag area. It wasn't pulling because it didn't have this. I hadn't checked this make element droppable. Here, we'll add this to move it back.
Yeah, that part was important for you, Jay, because you want to be able to drag it multiple times.
Yes.
Right here. Let's make sure it goes back as well. So this is going to be. Well, I'm messing everything up now. All right, let's bring this to front. Okay. Let's see if this works. Nope. All right, so it might be that overlapping. Yeah. Short story, it does work. You can drag from repeating group.
That's awesome.
And let's make this droppable, and that will help. So there we go. I did it again.
Yay.
I forgot to click that thing, so let's see what happens. Okay. Yep, it's working back and forth.
So what did you do with the drop zones to make them accept something from another group?
Nothing in particular. As long as the drag group is, droppable, it should drop. It'll let it drop on onto the drop area. So as long as this is make this element droppable, that will let it. So if it's not droppable, it's doing what it did initially, and trying to constrain it inside the. So you can see it's trying to constrain inside the repeating group. But as soon as you make it droppable, then it'll let it go.
And you have everything in the right-hand repeating group in a drop area already with those gray boxes on the right. Yeah, what are they?
This is a drag drop group on top of a. So here, let me just put a background on this. So we can see the overlap. Do the same thing over here.
Okay. So they're directly on top of each other. When I did that, when I put them on top of my image, I wasn't able to access the image. I couldn't click on it.
Do you want to show him?
I don't have it anymore. I did bingo instead.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's
but
cool.
I want to do this with another use case.
Got it.
So I still care.
I wanted to show him your tomatoes.
Sounds so rude.
Yeah, so you can see there's just the yellow is the drag group, and then the gray is the drop.
Okay.
And so it should, yeah, as long as and you can control as far as the intersection there on the drop. If you're on fit, it's going to have to be inside the constraints of the drop group. Intersect will allow it to drop if it's touching the edge anywhere.
Oh, okay.
So that might make a difference as well. So like, yeah, if we set this one to fit, then it should not allow us to drop anything because our drop group is actually bigger. Yeah, see, it's not going to let us drop anything here because our drop group is actually bigger than the drop area.
Gotcha, that makes sense. And does it matter that you're dragging and dropping between two repeating groups? Would it work just as well with a plain drop area on one side?
Yeah, it'll work fine. It'll just work fine with a plain drop area on the other side. It would just make a difference on what kind of UI you want. So I think like Trello, you can drag it just anywhere on the list, right, and drop it. But if you want to have a single drop area, that would be fine.
Boy, I spent a lot of time on this, and you just went down.
We could figure it out.
Yeah, it looks good.
So.
I think a lot of people right now, well, lately, like 3 of us have been asking about it and trying to figure it out. So this is super helpful.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yep, absolutely. All right.
Awesome. Any other questions? That was kind of a build along. I'm glad we had a couple build alongs already along the way. Any other requests or questions anyone has in mind?
Do you have anything to say about Elasticsearch, Eli?
Not
Gives
much.
sense.
The what's going on with Elasticsearch?
Well, I want to have more powerful app-wide searches.
Sure.
My app isn't ready for the expense of Elasticsearch and the required bubble level that you need to be paying for. But I'm thinking about it already because, you know, it might make sense to think about it. So I guess my real question is app-wide searches. Is there another way to get them?
Yes, let's see here.
It looked like the thing you were building before. Was it the thing that I don't know what it was called. You had the plugin that you were showing.
Virtual data?
Yeah, it looked like that might do the job.
That could, depending on what you're after. Algolia. Bubble has an integration with Algolia right here. So you can enable searching here, and then it's going to require your application IDs. But this will create a much speedier search, and you can build an app-wide search around that. Algolia is not cheap.
There's
The basic plan is not terrible if I remember, but it can get pretty expensive pretty quick though.
I've got one here that was being advertised in the larger bubble group on Facebook. It's an alternative to Algolia, and it doesn't have the monthly cost. It's called Miley Search. So
Miley Search?
Yep, MEILI Search. So here I can send you the link to or I can share my screen.
Yeah, here, let me drop off here.
So we might just see what this is all about. So this is like an alternative to Algolia because of the pricing. It's an open source alternative. Let's see what the docs say.
MEIL? Yeah, okay. Oh no, MEILI. You better go, Cat.
So maybe this is something we can see if we can slug through over the course of, probably would take more than one office hour
Yeah, well,
session.
it looks like you have to set up AWS too.
Yeah,
Well,
it does.
which is a pain in the neck if you don't do it often.
Wouldn't you incur a cost by doing that though? Launching an instance?
It does. It has a cost, but it's probably less than the cost of Algolia because Algolia is you're paying for the AWS cost on top, like, and Algolia's cost. So, yeah. But
yeah, Algolia is very simple to set up, but you pay for convenience, right?
Yep. And it's super fast. Algolia search is super fast.
It is.
I've seen it, and it's like, it's amazing the difference. So, yeah. Well, I have one more thing we were trying to do on this app the other day was oh, that's right. So Lise has hired a mathematician to create an algorithm API so that she could process the results through it. And we just got stuck, and I forget where we got stuck with it. But I don't think I have a question in a good enough place to ask it here. So I was hoping Elise was going to be able to join us today to help formulate the question, but yep. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I guess we Can go ahead and wrap up office hours. Anyone?
Thanks, Eli. I'm a big fan of yours. Same with you, Tonya. You guys are awesome.
Thank you, Jordan, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thomas, were you saying something?
You know, we could keep going. I could keep going, but
You're like,
sure you guys
I
got
can
things
keep
to
going.
do.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys got things to do.
Let us have it, Thomas. I'm here
Yeah.
till.
What's up?
Well, I was thinking to myself, why don't we just build out that Trello board and make it look pretty? Like,
Make it look pretty? Okay.
Just make it look good. Yeah. Just
Oh,
build
boy.
it out.
Oh
Yeah.
boy. What'd you do,
I
Eli?
can make things functional, but I'm not great at making
No,
them
no,
pretty.
he's talking about adding him so he can make
Oh
this,
yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So
Just to have something there.
Thomas, I'm gonna send you. Can you private message me your phone number and I'll send you my login details?
Okay, I will do that. Private message you through Facebook
Or through the chat here, through the Zoom, you can just select mine. Oh,
message. Just direct message, right?
Juan, you're trying to call me? Are you still here or did he leave?
I don't see one.
It says direct message. I'm just gonna assume that's what that means. How long have you been?
Oh, he says he's in the waiting room. Hang on. There we go.
Was that Thomas?
How long have you been bubbling for? Since when did you start?
I think I first opened Bubble in 2016.
Really?
So
That's crazy. Probably a whole different world, huh?
it was a different world, and I opened it up. The first time I was in there, I was working for a playset company. We made and sold playsets, and I built just this quick little site to put up because we were trying to sell off the rest of our inventory. So I was in there for about here and there for about a month, and then I didn't really go back in for about 6 months after that. But once I got back in, then I love Bubble. I got addicted to Bubble, and it's my life now. So
Yep.
That's cool, man.
Paths that lives take, you know, like you're working for a plaything company and now you're doing this. Couldn't really be more different.
Right.
it's a completely different world.
Hey, Thomas, I sent you a text message.
Good. Okay, gotcha. It's interesting because I started as probably, I started 6 months ago. Yep, this is me.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And I had a bit of a hard time getting that conviction around, like, is this worthy of a skill to learn? Is this the future? So I was kind of hiccuping along the way. Did you have any issues with that conviction aspect initially starting?
Yeah, well, I was working in a different field. I was doing a lot more marketing and sales then, and so I had actually started my first foray into NoCode was with Zoho Creator, which
Burning passion.
What was that?
I hate Zoho with a burning passion. I'm a customer.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And so I built, it was just a simple inventory. Like it was just a way for one location to see what was on another location. Impossible to make pretty. And then from the next project I built was in actually Knack Builder. And again, solid database, and you could do most everything that you needed to do, but the ability to control the UI was not there. It was just, you kind of used what they had, and like you drag a table onto the screen, right? And you can add columns and filters, but there was not the ability that Bubble gives you to just create whatever UI you want. And so by the time I got to Bubble, I was fairly sold on the ability to create products that are usable in the real world without using code. And so when I saw what I could make it look like then in Bubble, it was pretty much an instant sell for me.
Yep, same, except my journey was a year ago I started, so.
And then I learned I'm very bad at UI and design. So
same. Although I already knew that part. And then Sanders asking, what is your main job now? Do you work full-time for AirDev or do you also have side projects?
I work full-time for AirDev and talking to Tonya and Juan.
Which we love.
So no, provide support for the developers on the team and then work on the Canvas template. And then I do some side work for a couple of agencies that, well, not agencies, just a couple of guys I was working for the last couple of years. Just some small stuff here and there.
I think I consume half of the time of Eli.
Juan's always at the coffee shop too.
Sorry?
You're always at the coffee shop, Juan.
Yeah.
And Sander, yes, we can rewatch this session later. If you are tuning in live on Facebook or watching later already, then you would know. We do syndicate on youtube.com now. So does anybody say youtube.com anymore? Like, no. Let's see, here's the Tom. Yeah. Gotcha. It's just YouTube. Who was I bragging to earlier this week that I was able to get like an hour-long DVD ripped and put onto a website back in 2004 before YouTube. And I was so proud of myself. It took me like a week to do it. So Thomas, let me know if that worked and you're in.
Yeah. Am I going into August Sandbox 2021?
Yep, exactly. And then Eli and Thomas can take it away and I'm just going to watch.
Wow. I was like a little anxious going into your account there. I was like, wow, I'm in.
You're in. I'll kick you out later, but yeah, you're in.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Cause havoc while you can.
Yep.
Exactly.
All right. So Eli, would you like to share your screen and then?
I can.
Yeah.
I thought Thomas was going to make it pretty.
Yeah, you could share your screen and then I'll just make it pretty in the background.
That sounds good.
And then if I'm still allowed to work in there, I can make data for it. So I don't know what Eli named the page.
Drag drop.
And then Sander, did you want to give us the details? I know your mic's not working, but if you wanted to type out the details for what we're building, I think it's just like a weekly like to-do list or something like that. So the columns would be like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, so the first column has all of the requests and then the other columns are for days of the week. And you drag the request into which day of the week you're going to complete the request.
So there's 2 columns? I kind of missed that.
So there's multiple, like we can just do it with maybe like 3 columns total. Yeah, so the first column is all of the requests or all of the unassigned requests.
Let's try to do something here, Thomas. I'm going to make a quick change.
Go ahead.
Don't know that this is going to work.
I can get them over now, but they won't stay there. They slide right back. It's progress.
Yeah.
That is progress. What does your workflow look like on the drop?
There is no workflow on the drop.
Yeah, you have to change something in the database to get it to stick according to what your other repeating, like what that thing is where you're dropping it. So the reason you're able to move it from one repeating group to the other is the droppable area has a workflow when you drop something on it that it changed its status. In this case that Eli did, it was changing its status to belong to that group.
And is the drop area with the destination area, is that the make this element droppable is the thing you're dragging around, right?
Correct.
Right, okay. So I don't need that in the drop area because it's not the thing that's droppable. Okay.
Okay, and then there's an extra request from Sander. It would be nice if we could link it to a real date field if you drop it. So, but we can just go with weekdays. I'm sure, Sander, you can modify it.
So Eli, you're just putting everything into one repeating group?
Yeah, I'm gonna see if we can do a horizontal repeating group and drag across both the.
Yeah.
Oops, that's not gonna work. Screen ain't wide enough. Let me make this shorter. If we can do this, and you only have to make the one pretty. So speaking of things, it would be nice if we could reference through a couple of repeating groups, but since we can't, I'm just going to say this is a variable weekday. Oops. Hold on.
But Tonya, can you remind me what is going on in each column, just so I can?
Yeah, so we're gonna make, well, I think we're just making 2 columns to drop into. One will be like one day of the week and the other will be a different day of the week.
I'll give all these a day.
So one will be Monday, the other one will be Tuesday. It's pretty good, I guess.
Right, exactly. So that like if you had a list of things that you needed to get done across 2 days, you could drag which day you were going to do each task.
Do we want to erase the top stuff, Eli, just for the case of?
Yeah, we can get rid of the top stuff. Yep, and okay, I think everything has. The only other issue here is we would need to have a empty state drop area in case there's nothing in that list. But yeah, go ahead. You can go ahead and make it.
Am I erasing these 2 elements within, I guess, the 2 elements within the drag drop group that looks like it's orange or yellow?
Let's see.
Because the titles of these groups would be, one would be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right?
Yes, so in here, so in the horizontal group, this is weekdays. So you can just reference the current sales weekday.
Right. Okay. There you go. Inside of these groups, what are we dropping from one to the other exactly?
A line item.
A line item. Okay. So the line items are.
I know that's a weird thing to drop, but
yeah. Okay.
Well, your shopping list for Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday.
Right.
True. I should put a constraint on here.
Eli, I have a question.
Sure.
I noticed in the past that after a certain number of drags, for example, 11, if I'm not wrong, it stopped working. And you need to refresh the page. Like you drag it.
Call bubble.
But, oh yeah, it is bubble. No, maybe it was maybe you have a workaround for that or have seen that in the past.
Yeah, I don't know. How much data did you have on the page?
No,
Depending
it was
on,
not so much.
Yeah, depending on how much data you're dropping around, it could slow down, but I mean, it really shouldn't stop working.
Okay.
Have any
It
impact
was
on that.
like it let you drag, but doesn't save or like doesn't remain on the position that you want it to be now. So yeah. And sometimes when you reach bubble, they are like that they can't or they will not update that. So you are the one that always have the workarounds for that.
So on a positive note, it sounds like they're starting to look into the search box values. When you have a search box and you click on in a focus group and you click on the value, you know how it closes the focus group. Supposedly they're looking into a way of solving that problem.
Quick question, Eli.
Sure.
For the two text elements here in the draggable group, can't I put both of them into one?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. That's just
but that doesn't make a difference, though, right?
It shouldn't make any difference.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Just curious. I'm not sure in what way we're making this prettier. It's just like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday list.
Well, it already looks better than it
Pretty
did.
easy.
So
Yeah.
Where was that intersect choice?
That's going to be on your drop area. So the group where you're dropping onto should have at the top of the expression editor an intersect choice.
Are you guys using the bubble plugin?
Yes.
Huh.
are you having trouble, Jay?
Well, I'm not seeing it, but I'm going to wait till you got. I'm a little bit ahead because
Okay.
screw things up my own way. So I'll wait till you guys get there.
Yeah, I'm kind of anxious for Eli to see your bingo game, honestly.
Oh, cool.
I think it's so cool.
Ah, there you are. So
I'm gonna pull this drop area down, Thomas. Oops, what did I do?
So funny. I was talking to Mateo before we did our build along a few months ago, and he was worried, like, as I'm building, I might forget to talk. I'm like, I've never had, I mean, maybe people who are watching live or something would drop off, but everyone's like, we're just watching what you're doing. Because this is what it's like to build in Bubble, right? You just try different things.
Occasionally, like yelling into this guy, like, what the hell?
Like it's highs and lows, right? It's like, yes, this is amazing. Why don't you work Bubble?
Whenever I submit a bug report, I always, list them out by number. And the last one, I always put either shake fists at sky or curse the gods.
Yeah, exactly.
And move tearing her out by fistful.
And it's so funny. I didn't ever submit a Bubble bug the entire time until I worked for AirDev. Because I just, until I worked for AirDev, I just pretty much like assumed if it wasn't working, it was my fault.
Yeah.
Then you send things to the help desk and I'm like,
You're like,
you send it to Bubble?
Send that to Bubble. I'm like, wait, Bubble makes mistakes? What?
Could you, like, on page, like, convert that text element into an input? I guess you can if you just had like an edit button. So
yeah, you could. Yep.
Yeah. Could you do that without having to click a button? For example, like Trello has like if you've used the Trello like little project manager software, you could just click on the text and the text just goes straight into edit.
Sure.
So I guess you could probably just click on the text, have something there.
Yeah, you want to do this on the description?
Yeah, on the title, so of each of these groups. So yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah.
So like the column of the header above the column?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we can actually, so probably to do that, I would just, let's see. I should get rid of that and just turn this into an actual input.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And
How did you get that in the second action item there? Drop area line item has a group dropped on it. Where'd you get it has a group dropped on it from? I don't see it.
Just click here to add an event.
Yeah.
Elements.
Yeah. Ah,
Right
thank
there.
you.
Yep.
Trying to figure out this group weekdays here, that group you just grouped there, the text. Why is not changing font color? Thinking
Oh, I changed the style on it.
Okay.
So, sorry.
Yeah, okay, I gotcha.
All right, let's do it.
The text there, the input parent groups weekend. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm making the text color pretty much black, but it's staying gray. I don't know if that's just my preview.
Oh, that's probably the placeholder.
The group. What'd you do there? Ah, okay, I see what you're doing. Okay, there you go. I miss things all the time.
Yeah, I got you, man. That's easy to miss.
I like it. Looks good.
Can we look at that workflow again? When you're ready.
Sure.
Yeah. So you make changes. And there shouldn't be any difference if this is set state to a custom state that's a list of items, right?
It shouldn't be. So this drop areas line item should pull or this drop areas thing should pull the item that was dropped onto it.
So I should be able to drag from one column to the next, right?
Should be able to.
Yeah, I'm not able to do it.
Me neither.
So I don't know if we broke something.
Probably. All right, let's see. Current sales line item. Let's see, what do we got here?
The group header text, or is it supposed to be grouped within the group weekdays?
I don't know that it matters.
Okay, yeah, because it isn't in this case.
Yeah, I don't know that that matters. The group weekdays was clickable.
Okay.
All right. All right, so this should be working again.
Oh, I should probably.
Was it Jay? Did you get your drop area
Nope.
working?
Nope.
I think, Thomas, are you still just sort of tidying up?
Yeah, I can stop now.
No, you can keep going. I
I'm
was
done.
just thinking maybe Jay can share her screen and we can
Oh,
try
yeah,
to
absolutely. Go ahead. Sure,
debug.
absolutely.
Awesome.
Sure.
That looks great, by the way. Thank you so much, Eli. And thank you, Thomas, for your work on making it look pretty.
I know I'm missing something super basic, but I am missing something super basic. At least.
Yep.
Okay.
That makes me
so-
hungry.
Yeah, good. You're supposed to be able to drop these over here and have them stay. And
Okay.
then I've also set up I've created a custom state called testing drag drop. And this should be the display. These are option sets. Everything's an option set, but nothing's happening. Here's the workflow.
Right.
So I tried this, that didn't work. And I also tried make changes to a thing, but I really don't want it in the database. It's a game kind of, it shouldn't have a life cycle.
Okay. When you drop it, is it supposed to come out of the options to drag from?
Well, there's two different use cases. One, the answer is yes, and the other should be no. They should be able to move as many times as they want. So I also
Okay, let's let's go with that one for now. Go ahead and click on your drop group.
Oh, the drop group.
All
The
right.
one,
No, the drop area.
got it.
Perfect. All right. So data source.
I didn't know. I just made something up.
I don't think you need it. You don't need a data source in there. You can clear that.
Okay.
And then go back to your workflow from the drag from something that's dropped on it. Okay, so let's do testing, drag drops, dropped veg plus item, current workflows, vegetable categories.
Don't think I don't know how to get to that option.
All right. Let's see. What is the type of, what's the content set on the drop area? Vegetable categories.
Option set.
Okay, so that should be, all right, back into the workflow. This, okay, drop area vegetables category has a group dropped on it. Okay. And let's see. Do you have this drop area? Go ahead and click on that so we can see all your options. Scroll on down.
There it
Right,
is.
try this drop areas. There you go. See if that works. Sometimes it's just a trial and error.
Not quite there.
Okay, we really should have a current workflow.
Oh, I'll bet it doesn't because this image is in this drop group. So this is the current cell, like, you know, here's the repeating group.
Mm-hmm.
Nested is this, and then that is nested in there, which makes it a parent group. I'll bet that's probably why I'm not getting a.
But you're dragging that group there, correct?
I'm trying.
Yes. So current cells, vegetables category. Let me just look back at this workflow. All right, current workflow. Okay, let's try this. Go back into your workflow, add a new one in front of step 1. And click make a change to thing. Oh, you can't, it's an option set. What are we setting? What state are we setting? Is it vegetable category?
No, that's the name of the option set. The state is drop veg. It's the option sets here, and it's a list.
So it is of type the vegetable category. It's the same type that's being dropped.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Put another.
Hi, Sandra.
Put
Thank
another.
you for joining us.
Put another
Sorry.
drop group right in there. I just want to try a new one and see if it makes any difference here.
Yeah.
Drop area, sorry.
Give me a second. Where is it? Here it is.
That is probably the most scrolled list in the world.
Room for
Okay.
it.
All right, that'll be good. All right, so vegetable category should be type of content. What's the difference between vegetable categories and vegetable category option set?
The one, unintuitively, the one that says option set is a data type and it's used for something else.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. All right, let's go back into your workflows. And let's create a new one of the same type. There you go.
Let me just,
Oh, you know what? Set your
Sorry.
type of thing. I know what's going on. You can delete that and put the other one back in.
you know what's
Sorry.
going on?
I do.
Okay.
Okay. Set the type of thing.
And I think the problem then is, oh, there it is.
And now you should have access to current workflow.
Yes.
Okay.
Amazing.
I think you had to put your repeating group back inside that group.
So I do need a repeating group to kind of receive what I'm giving it.
Yeah, I mean, well, you don't have to, but if you're going to visualize it, sure.
Okay. Well, the state
No
was
dice,
set.
huh?
No dice, but I'm wondering if, like, the state was set, so something good
Okay.
happened. This must be the
Good.
problem. So,
Oh, set your source to the state. And then your image will be current sales image.
oops. If this works, I'm just going to shriek. So get ready to mute.
We're ready.
Oh, oh,
Look at that. Awesome. Thank you
right.
so much, Eli. It doesn't work for multiples, but we can figure that out.
yeah, that's great. Thank you so
Yep.
much. You have no idea how many hours I spent fussing with this and trying to get it to work. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
I would believe it. I have been there.
Yes. Thank you so much for being with us, Eli. It was so wonderful to have you today. So
Good to be here.
awesome.
Good meeting everyone.
Yeah, and we will be back here on Monday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Thank you to all of our participants today. It was good to see some faces again after a long while. And yeah, I hope to see everyone next week.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.